Hello, everyone. This is Christina Santos, and welcome to the Heart to Heart Talk with my good friend Stacy. And we are starting this series to provide a spotlight overview of real experiences, real stories from people who have suffered from osteoarthritis and degenerative bone disease. So, my name is Christina Santos. I am the online administrator, and and today we just wanted to learn more about Stacy's journey. So, Stacy, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
All right. Well, as Christina said, my name is Stacy, and I have known Christina for going on about 7 years now, Christina,
Yes.
in 2014. And it was a crazy little bit of a meet, but let me back up and explain a little about myself. I am a sufferer of degenerative disc disease and osteoarthritis. My journey, most of it really started in 2014, which is about the time that Christina and I both met. We were at the time very different areas of our lives. Christina was still working, and I was not. I was at that time starting my journey with disability, and for those of you who've been through that, you know that struggle and all that goes with it. So I went to the doctor in 2004 with some problems with my middle back, and learned that I had degenerative disc disease, extremely bad, in my thoracic, and I could feel it hurting, but it was not that bad, so I let it go. So fast forward to 2014, I'm now at the doctor's. We're now running MRIs, and the doctors are looking at my MRIs, and they're saying, "Oh, yeah, that looks bad, but it's pain. There's nothing here that we can do for you. We can't operate on pain." And although I understood them, I was so frustrated because I knew what I was feeling inside. So just to kind of speed up the story here a little bit, now we're in we're in October of 2014. I was advised to see UCSF for my spine problems. I got up there, they said the same thing. "Oh, that looks bad, but there's nothing we can do." And I found it crazy. And I left actually mad and crying, and thought that I would never, ever find a solution to what I was feeling. And I knew it was there. It felt like a 9-pound bowling ball in my side, and there was no getting away from it. So a few days went by, and I was in prayer, and I couldn't understand why God was bringing this upon me. And if it was His will, why wasn't I getting any understanding as to what was happening with my body? And in the middle of my praying, about 2 days in, I got a phone call from UCSF, from Dr. Devran. And he said, "Stacy, I want to apologize to you." He said, "I looked at your MRI again," and he said, "Yes, I will do surgery on you." From that point on, things went pretty fast. So we're in December of 2014. I have the surgery. It was called an XLIF. And what they did is they went in on my left side through my ribs, and they fused T11 and T12. They took
It's
out
one of the most difficult surgeries to perform,
yes,
thoracic surgery.
yes,
Yeah.
and they did actually clip my lung. I was fine, but it made me realize how serious of a surgery I was in. When I come out of the surgery, and the doctor told me, he said, "We'll be doing x-rays on you every 4 hours to watch your lungs to make sure that everything heals there as well."
I have a question. Did you do any specific non-invasive procedures at outpatient before the major surgery?
Oh, yes, I've had epidurals, resides. There's a couple of them I can't remember. The burning of the nerves, that's the residomy one, but there's another one where they go in and numb the nerves too. And
So how many procedures did you have before the spinal fusion?
just in the thoracic area, not counting my neck, I'd say probably 4 or 5, if I'm remembering correctly. So anyways, I had the surgery. So now we're going into 2015, and I'm using a walker, and I'm recovering, and I'm cooking in the kitchen. And my son comes up to me and says, Kristan, his best friend, is on the way over, and his mom and sister are coming too. So I was a little surprised, but a few minutes later in the door walked Christina and Isa. And that was the beginning of our friendship right there. I think at the time Christina was having a hard time understanding why I was scooting around in a walker.
Little did I know what was going to happen to me eventually. I mean, what are the odds, right? That we experience the same symptoms and the same diagnosis.
Exactly. And Christina came to me a little while later and asked me about my symptoms and how I felt and how I got to the doctor. And once I got my foot in with UCSF and they actually sat down and really looked at my spine, that's when they realized that I was in kind of a 1% arena with my back. And they explained that that's why most of the surgeons and doctors that had seen me wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't touch it, and therefore I was sent up to UCSF. I went through a lot of growth during that period. I had to wear a clamshell. It's like a body cast that they make for you. And I had to wear it for about 2 or 3 months on and off after the surgery. But I found myself learning that I could no longer, not due to the surgery, due to my spinal condition itself, I could no longer go 150 miles an hour. I couldn't get up at 5 in the morning, get ready for work, get the kids off for school, do the grocery shopping, work 40 hours a week, help with homework, make sure I had any overtime business done at work, run everybody everywhere they needed to go, and take care of my husband too. So I started realizing I can't keep up anymore. I can't keep up. I became angry and bitter. I didn't understand why God was putting me through this. And as time went by, I began to learn, especially through physical fitness, that my body was failing me in more than one area. I was walking. I continued to walk right up until my surgery in 2014. So I was in okay condition. I wouldn't say I was an Olympian by any means, but I was strong enough for the surgery.
How long did it take to recover?
1 year.
1 year. And in between that, you had physical therapy.
Yes, I did. Not much. At the time, we were a little pinched on money. So what I did is I went in and met with the physical therapist, and they told me what to do, and I would do it. I'd practice it at home. They showed me how to do it. I would practice it at home, and then every couple of weeks I would get to go in. So that cut my expense in half, but still gave me the chance to learn from physical therapy exactly what I needed to be doing to heal. So I was grateful for that God answered me in my prayers there and showed me how I was going to get.
So what would you define as like your bad days? Like, and what do you do?
Bad days.
At home that you can do that you do at home that can be helpful knowledge for others like myself, in better managing pain on a daily basis.
Well, stay close to God because you're going to need Him. There are days, as I said, I have problems with my entire spine. So although I had surgery on T11, T12, my entire spine is pretty much degenerated. I have very few discs left. So some I get up in the morning, I'm very, very stiff. If I try to push myself, which I do some mornings, I can get sick to my stomach. I get very angry and from trying to deal with the pain, a lot of times I'll tell my family, go away. I need time to myself to reposition myself so I'm not screaming at everybody just because I'm in pain. A bad day is a bad day. There's been times I woke up and I feel like God hasn't answered me. And I have to really reach and remember what I think my journey is all about. And I think it falls with God. I think he's been trying to tell me over the years to use some humility and to have patience. And back in 2014, you could have told me that that wasn't me, and I would have never believed you that I would be that. But I was, and it's taken time for me to understand that when a bad day happens, let it go. It's just a day. Find out what's good there in your day that you can learn from. Take with it what you can, and then drop it like a hot potato and don't look back. I found that when I look back and I try to gauge myself and my physical abilities, even now from a year and a half ago, I can see where the degeneration has increased. And
but can you explain what caused that? Was it like an accident?
I was not an accident. That's what puts me in the 1 percentile. I had no accident.
Oh, so it was just like developing.
It was just a developing weak spot that started eating away the plate, and the disc was gone, and I was leaking bone marrow. So that's what Dr. Deverin had seen when he took the second look at the MRI itself. He saw what I was talking about. That's when he called back and said, hey, I'm sorry, we will take your surgery. Bad days are days that I have to stop. I can't do it. I can't run the errands that usually a stay-at-home mom or retired woman would be able to do. Then again, some days I can.
Well,
so my advice, I would say to people just starting out on their journey right now is be patient. You may be told no, there's no help for you, I can't help you. You're just going to have to exercise. Maybe this injection will work, maybe it won't. Don't be afraid to try, but don't be afraid to say no. It's your option to try the different procedures out there. And if you don't feel that they're going to help you, remember, it's your option. This is your journey. And I remember Dr. Deverin telling me, be very careful with surgeons wanting to come in and just do piecework on the spine. And I didn't quite understand what he meant by that. But over time, I've learned that there are surgeons out there that will operate on you just because you think something is wrong. Maybe not necessarily because there's pain there. So I learned a little bit about that too. So I would say when you're having a bad day, let it go, let it be, draw close to your God, and let him wrap his loving arms around you and hold you one more time.
How about your support system, your family? How did they adjust to the new norm, after you got the surgery or the diagnosis?
Scared. They were really scared. But they, after watching me, I mean, knowing me and knowing what I was before I started falling apart, the kids learned quickly, hey, this isn't mom goofing off, this is serious. And I involved them in all the steps along the way, so they could understand more where I was, so that they didn't think it was their fault. That was a big thing about going through the emotional distress, trying to get some relief to the situation and not take it out on the family. And they turned around. They realized quickly that this is a serious situation. Mom's down, mayday, mayday. And they've been good to me. They help around the house. When I have bad days, I tell them, hey, that's it. I'm in a bad mood. You guys are going to have to let me be until I can bring the pain down. And a lot of times there's no medication out there that can bring it down. You just gotta let God wrap his loving arms around you. Go to your quiet place and be in pain with the Lord. That helps. It may take 2 hours, may take a half an hour, but a lot of times it helps.
Well, you've definitely helped me, understand better my journey. And this diagnosis, it is really an invisible disability,
It is.
Like looking at us right now, they'll think that nothing's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Right? But it is really the pain. But especially at the onset, it's a very scary experience, I would say. When you were talking about when we started connecting more, we started talking more on the phone. That was around January through March 2018. I was really scared. Like, I didn't know where to put my head. But you were right there. And definitely, I would say having a support system, especially somebody who understands what you're going through. And I knew that's why I met you back in 2014, because 4 years later, I'm gonna be diagnosed with the same thing. And you were like 4 years ahead of me in everything, right? So now I'm now into the 2.5 year of my journey. And yesterday we were just kind of, glorifying God for, like for myself, especially, I feel good. It was very pivotal, seeking the right expert, right? Like a neurosurgeon has a different perspective than an orthopedic surgeon.
That's correct. That's right.
And so I just felt like you went to the right source and you had researched about it, because at the end of the day, we only have one spine. And, gotta be very careful with that.
Well, and having the right doctor means everything now. Before I started out at UCSF, I need to back up a little bit. They originally tried to get me in at Stanford. And when I went to Stanford, the first thing they wanted to do, load me up on meds. And they didn't like my answer, because my answer was no. You mean
painkillers? You mean painkillers?
Just painkillers. They wanted me on 3,600 milligrams of gabapentin. Now I'm on that now, but I didn't feel that I was that bad. How many years ago? 6 years ago, 5 years ago? I didn't think that I needed to have that. And I didn't want to take it. I thought, well, okay, 3,600 milligrams of gabapentin. That's the central. Yes. Now, can you see me trying to drive down the road or go to work on that?
Yeah,
I mean,
those medications alter your central nervous system, according to my doctor.
The doctor's basically handing me a slip saying, here, go do a DUI. There you go. 3,600 milligrams ought to do it for you.
Yeah. Well,
and
how about, yeah.
I said, well, I can help you. And so that was it for me in UCSF. I mean, Stanford, yeah. But I found the right doctor at UCSF. So it depends. Everybody's different.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you, like, in terms of like triggers, what triggers the pain?
Ooh. A lot of times, if I'm put on a time restraint, like just even videoing this, for me to get up and to get ready, put my makeup on, do my hair and all that, I used to be able to do it in 45 minutes. Now it takes me 2.5 hours
and where's your neck afterwards?
15 minutes. So, you know, I had to learn to slow down.
Yeah, definitely simplifying your life, and one of the things that I learned is what you call adaptive lifestyle, right? Adaptive living,
Hmm.
adapting. We need to adapt. So, what keeps you positive? And I know there are a lot. Sometimes there are more bad days than good days, but what helps you to stay positive? You know, in spite of having this illness that produces a lot of pain in our body. Sometimes you don't know when it's coming, but what helps you stay positive in spite of it?
Mainly my family and God.
Mhm.
Just knowing that God has got this. As time's gone by, I've learned to understand that and embrace it. So I give up a little bit easier. I don't fight it quite as much. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. What keeps you positive? Stays. What keeps you positive in this
Uh,
journey?
some hobbies and my
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. I
Great,
was
you
gonna
know.
ask you about the hobbies.
Yeah. Well, my family, we're a bunch of jokers, so we joke around a lot. And so that's always fun. But I do have some hobbies. I've had to leave some hobbies too, though.
Mm.
I hope to return to soon. But I do paint with diamonds, which is really, really fun. But it takes a lot out of you if you have neck issues. So, but I do that. I have paint with diamonds, and I'm learning to do a new hobby with soap making, and
Mm.
I did a crocheting,
Mm.
um, to hike, used to camp, used to bike, and those are things I haven't been able to do in the past several years. But I know that I'll get back up to it again eventually. Even with the COVID-19, when that's over and we can go back to getting in the gym again,
Mm.
I'll hopefully build my strength up enough to go hiking again, because that was one I really enjoyed. But
Mm.
walks, I recently picked up journaling again.
Mm.
So those are the things that, and the Bible, of course, that keep me going.
Mm. Yeah, and I actually want to thank you. Part of our journey as we were. I mean, it was Stacy who actually was there for me, and she was one of the first members of this osteoarthritis group that is administered by the ministry. That I was miserable. We were both miserable during that time. We were going through a lot of appointments, but hey, the Harder Root Ministry started. As we were going through that, we were in our quiet time, and actually, Stacy, I want to thank you for having the heart for the sick and the elderly. For having the heart to pray, and I thank you for being a prayer warrior for the Harder Root supportive ministries. And some of the people that we pray for are the ones that uh, want to become members of this group, or who are still this in a discovery phase. They're not quite so sure what it is that they're dealing with. It may have had a facet block here and there, and that didn't work. But it is definitely a journey. It's not like a start and a finish, then you're done, right? Do you find that to be a continuous thing that you
Absolutely,
do?
absolutely.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
and
It's the journey in itself. It really is.
mhm,
I really believe that my in my own personal experience, I believe
mhm,
that God pretty much said to me, and I wasn't listening. At about 47 years old, I'm now 54. Slow down.
mhm,
This fast life for you isn't for you anymore.
mhm,
But I wouldn't listen. I knew better. I had it all figured out.
mhm. But don't you love? Don't you? I mean, I know it's the slowing down, but I wait. Don't you wake up sometimes and just love it that you don't? That you're just, you're not supposed to be so stressed out anymore. Don't you enjoy the time and
Yes, I
the
do.
hobbies more?
I do. I yeah. It's kind of like, remember when you were in school and you started out in high school as a freshman, and you worked up to a senior, and then the freshmen come in again, and you look back at the freshmen and you say, oh wow, I've come so far
Yes.
in my journey, and who am I compared to who I used to be? I'm so much of a better person now than I used to be. And I've got a long ways to go yet, but it has brought me patience, and it has taught me humility. And I somewhere along the line, I gained a genuine love for the elderly, and they're treasures.
And we
Thank you.
connect, our friendship is connected by prayers too, right? There are times
Absolutely.
when I would ask Stacy to pray for me because, I had a bad night, I couldn't sleep, or I had a bad dream. So thank you for just being there and being a phone call away. You are actually on my favorites list on my phone. Ching!
Uh,
Yeah, I remember there was a time I was supposed to go to a meeting, and while putting on a little bit of makeup, I simplified my makeup. I don't put a lot of makeup anymore, like I used to when I was working. But I remember calling you, and I knew it was you that I needed, and I said, Stacy, please pray for me. I have this unexplainable pain, and I have to get out of the house. Didn't know what to do, and you just have a way of helping calm people, and like assure that it's gonna be okay. Or you are such a good listener too. So I really appreciate you for that.
well, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I even though Stacy and I are not together in one area, one town, I always invite her to my online life groups that we have now. Before it was a physical life group, but in our ministry, the Lord is revealing more to me that everything that we do, especially with the limitations that we have, right? Uh, this online is where we are. We can reach people just right through this Facebook group, and we will make a difference. So we want to make an effort, and I hope that you continue encouraging others, sharing your testimony. Thank you for agreeing to do this
Well,
with
thanks for
me
having
and
me.
sharing a very personal journey to everybody who's listening and watching. But what are your final words? Like what do you want to say, to encourage somebody who's going through this pain journey?
Um, I would I would say the biggest thing is get practice your faith. Get close to God. Draw him near to you and stay close to him, because you are going to have doctors that look at you and say no. Or you're going to have doctors that maybe give you medicine that you can't function on. And you're going to have days that are bad, that
Mm-hmm.
maybe right now you can't see. But
Mm-hmm.
so the number one thing to say is to draw close to our God
Mm-hmm.
and have faith. Have faith and keep your ears open to him, and keep your heart soft.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say those are the things that have gotten me through the most. That and the physical aspect of stretching and walking. Try to keep your physical strength the best that you can.
That's wonderful.
And call your friends,
Yeah.
like Chris. I can remember times calling Christina bawling, will you pray for me?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. It brings me to my knees every time.
Mm-hmm.
So
And yeah, I love having that, that spiritual companion. And sometimes though I get questions on the Facebook group, and I would call Stacy and ask, can you answer this question for me? And we do have a mentorship program in this Facebook support group, and I encourage people who are watching today, if you are further along in your journey and you want to mentor somebody who's just discovering their this diagnosis and their symptoms, just kind of guiding them, please do offer that, because in doing so, you can do this from the comfort of our own home. in your recliner, on your bed, even while you're going through pain, you'll find that it's such a good release, of what's inside of you. And finding somebody with similar journeys is something that is, there's something comforting there.
Yes, and something else I think that's really important that I haven't mentioned, and it's extremely important, is keep your sense of humor.
Yeah.
Um, and be a little tenacious. It's okay, when you get in there with those doctors and they say this or that, stand up and say why, or say, no, I don't agree. Explain to me. And I used to when I was working and there were a lot of people around and tensions were high and stress was going everywhere, I would, what was I going to say about that? Keeping your sense of humor, but there was something else I was going to say about it, Christina. It just left my mind. Sorry, guys. Maybe next time. Your sense of humor.
Well, you do have also a wonderful family, and your husband's just
Yes,
been calling you, checking in on you. I think that is really
I
a big
do.
factor and very understanding partner in life.
Yes, I do. I have a wonderful partner, and we are exactly opposite of each other, so we balance each other really well. Ray really has to pull on the reins with me sometimes and remind me, Stacy, I don't know where you think you're going or what you're doing, but you need legs to walk with. So hold on a minute.
Good.
And there's times he's held me and he's been the advocate for me, which is a good thing. Always take somebody with you when you have these big appointments that are involving surgery. Take somebody with you that you trust and that loves you, so they have your back a little bit, because it gets emotional in there and you're not going to always walk out remembering everything that they told you.
Yeah.
So it's good to have
Well,
support.
I remember when August last year, September, remember I went in and then they told me, oh, honey, because it was the PA and she's a woman. And she saw that I was having pain and she said, you're going to need spinal fusion. And I was like, what? And she kind of like explained that. And you were the first one I called because I knew you went through that. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Stacy, and
Welcome.
stay positive, stay as encouraging as you are. I appreciate you for volunteering your time, to be part of the prayer and healing ministry of the Heart of Ruth. Um, and anybody who needs prayers, just direct message me or Stacy. I will be happy to provide you not only prayers but also emotional support. Sometimes we need that when
Yeah,
people don't understand what we're going through, right? Sometimes it's the invisible disability. Like I said, it's not gonna be obvious for people, but because it's the spine. Sometimes it's on the legs, but like for me, it's on the neck. It's behind my hair. It's hidden by my hair. Nobody can see it. So, but just having a friend like you makes a lot of difference.
it does, and it makes all the difference in the world. It really does. It can be lonely, when you're scared and you don't have all the answers and you don't know what direction you're heading in. And, at our age, we're all trying to figure out what comes next.
Yeah, what's her
And
purpose? And it's miserable sometimes. But in your misery, you find your ministry.
yes, that was
Right?
very well put, Christina.
And in your pain, you find your purpose.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And really the brokenness, sickness, illness, it breaks you. It humbles you first, right? It's very humbling,
It is.
right? Like very humbling, especially if you're not able to work at the same level as you have before. Wow.
Very.
Remember that? Like it's like, especially when you meet old friends who expected you in a certain job or a certain position, and then this thing happened to you. It's very humbling, but it really is gonna deepen your spiritual connection, right? Do you
Yes.
feel the same way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And every day, every day, uh, God talks to me all the time about the things that I need to do, or helping me to realize the things that I need to do that I don't see. Um, that continual relationship um, really opens my eyes, whereas I can sit down today and I can pray for somebody for healing, and I can see the healing in one way, and then the next day I can pray for the same person, and it's dimensional. I can see where there's healing in another way. Sometimes with the big injuries like we have, we don't realize that we're injured, so we tend to kind of keep running into the same wall until we finally get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to be alone when, when you're going through a journey like this. Have friends, stay close to them. You'll need them and they'll need you.
Mm-hmm. And stay with the positive friends, not the ones that,
Absolutely
right?
positive.
There are friends that are actually add more pain. And hopefully, and you'll see it, you'll know. Especially, I used to like hiking too, like you, and now I couldn't, and they kind of like ask why not. I'm not trying to be difficult, I just can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add before we end the
Um,
video?
remember, all of us need to remember when we go in to see the doctors, remember they're trying to help us. And sometimes they rely a little bit too much on medications. I think we can all agree. So do your homework, know your body, and don't be afraid to say no. If you don't think you need it or it's too much medication for you, don't be afraid to say no. The doctor has to learn too. He's not all knowing, and that's how you build a relationship with your doctor, is by being on the same level with them, human to human, not doctor to patient. Hold them accountable. Make them, if they want to give you something, okay, make them tell you why. Make them tell you why not something else. And take notes. When you go in, take notes. Write notes, questions you have before you get in there with the surgeon, and take notes while you're in there, or have your advocate that's there with you do it.
Very good. Yes. Very good. Very, very good tip. So, and you didn't mention your pug, Dory.
Oh, yes, I have it. Well, I locked her out of the room because she'd been there the whole time. Yes, I have a pug, and she's my therapy.
Emotional support therapy dog.
Let me go get her. Hold
Okay. Yeah. We share the same love for dogs. So the pug's name is Dory, and I have a little bull mastiff, which I have posted photos of her on the support group. So Stacy's gonna get her little tiny dog. She's much smaller. Ah,
on.
look at Dory. Is she wearing something?
Yeah, she's wearing my headband. She loves anything that I put on, she wants.
Yes.
So I put it on her, and she feels all pretty and runs around.
Oh, Dory. Oh, she's
Yeah,
so soft too.
yeah.
She's so
She's my
cuddly. All
baby.
right.
But
All
yeah,
right.
thanks for having me, Christina.
Thank you for being our first heart to heart talk
Oh,
interviewee and sharing your story with us. Okay.
sure.
Love you.
Love you too, honey.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Would you like to be featured on the next Heart to Heart Talk? please send a direct message to Christina Santos or email heartofruthministries01@gmail.com. For more information, visit heartofruthministries.org.